Hello everyone, and now welcome to Game 2 in the series between Strelok and Mana. Game 2 taking place here on Entombed Valley. In this neck of the woods, out in far right field, we do have Strelok spawning as the red Terran. Meanwhile, back here on the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have Mana spawning as the green Protoss. Protoss versus Terran, Terran versus Protoss. Game 2, after a Game 1 very effective split marine push up the double ramps on Ohana. Mana tried to go for a little bit more of an economic game, trying to get to the trying to get to a third base. Strelok never let that happen and really punished Mana for it. Mana, perhaps actually, if he had gotten extended thermal lance range, may have actually been in a much better situation. Then again, Strelok did go for a strange 14 gas, which I believe threw off a little bit of the timing for Mana. Strelok opened up with a 14 gas, got a tech lab, started stim pack research, and then only had one SCV on gas. A very, very nice strategy, as we are seeing now Strelok opening up with a barracks here. And we'll see whether or not the refinery will be coming into play in just a second. We are going to see Mana playing pretty conservatively, setting up that pylon and that gateway pretty close to home, as things are pretty much getting underway. Now, SCVs are mining. You can see that there is no refinery as of yet, and it looks like Strelok is a little bit more willing to play an economic game here in Game 2. Mana will be able to scout out his opponent slightly faster. Strelok will be forced to train up a Marine, try to hold it down here at that ramp, and try to push back this probe. The probe is not going to spot anything as of yet. Is the SCV going to build an orbital command? Not quite yet either. And we'll see when that supply depot will be placed down. You can see SCV now making its way back around off over here. We are going to be having one Marine now try to hold this one ramp, but I believe the probe will be able to get inside just in time. Oh, this is going to become very, very close, as the probe does slip through and now gains sight of a very early command center. Now, this is all very important, as Mana now trying to sneak away with this probe. A little bit of dancing back and forth, but Strelok does come out ahead, getting the damage there, and we can see SCVs are still being trained. Perhaps a little bit behind. Yes, 4 SCVs behind at this point, but there is in fact a mule. Double gas now being taken. This is a rather interesting build, as Strelok has supply blocked himself at 19/19. He is getting 3 SCVs on gas there, should be getting 3 SCVs on gas here as well, indicating that he is trying to go into more of a technological play. More Marines will be added here in just a moment, and it will be up to Mana. And yeah, it will be up to Mana to try and lay down the hurt. We can see 3 Marines with the 2 Marines with the third one now being added. You can see the factory already being built as well. Are we perhaps going to see siege tanks early, as siege tanks are the only thing that can really stop that early gateway pressure? Sentries with force fields, you need that early damage from those siege tanks to really punish all of those gateway units that generally stick a little bit too close together. Stalker Zealot now trying to test the waters. There's only 3 Marines in that bunker. There's not going to be very much of any more, as we are now going into Reactor Hellions, perhaps, which doesn't surprise me all too much. If this was Heart of the Swarm, I would have expected Strelok to add on that tech lab and start training siege tanks, as siege tanks no longer need siege tech to go into siege mode. A true upgrade finally over their Brood War variant. I believe the Brood War siege tank costs less supply, costs less gas. Completely different game, but somehow players are just like, wow, the siege tank got a little bit of a nerf there. All right, let's see what's going to be happening, as a Stalker now dancing back and forth down here. Strelok, sitting at 38/38, does have 2 Hellions, and now looking to train up some more. More barracks also being added here. We are going into a tech lab, and are we actually going to see Cloak Banshees? That may be in the foreseeable future as much as possible, as there you go. There's the Banshee, there's the Cloak. and there are Hellions as well. The Hellions now going to try and test their way down. It looks like it will be able to get some damage onto that Stalker. That Stalker pretty much doesn't stand a chance as the Hellions are just running it down. 4 Hellions normally not effective against Stalkers, or Hellions are normally not effective against Stalkers, but you can see when you have superior numbers what that can mean and what that can do. Mana looking to establish up his own 3rd base over here on the bottom left-hand side of the map. Is it going to get scouted out? And yes, it will. Will Strelok be actually able to hurt this is the key question. The Nexus is not going to fall anytime soon. You can see Stalkers now perhaps trying to give a little bit of a chase there, as we see Banshees now on the move. 1 Banshee in the air, 2nd Banshee now underway. Robotics facility needing 40 seconds to complete, and the timing on Mana's robotics facility couldn't be any tighter. You're going to see Cloaking Field now complete in 10 seconds. The robotics facility needing a little bit more time in order to start training up observers, and some damage could possibly be dealt. You can see sentries are off over here. In comes this Banshee. Banshee now looking to get in some easy shots. There you go. There's 1 probe. 2nd probe now going to get taken down. Is the 3rd probe going to get taken down? Yes, it will, as the Stalker now goes up onto the high ground. Could easily get off some easy shots there. Another probe gets taken down. As you can see that the Banshee is just getting shots pretty easily. Observer now being added, and Strelok has dealt the necessary damage. Now moving even off to the 3rd base. Going to get even more kills. This is going to rack up to about 10 kills in total, as the Hellions tried to charge up the ramp in the main, but a couple of force fields did stop them in their tracks. Strelok getting in some actual damage on his opponent. Worker kill count. Workers killed was up to 13. 39, 40 probes versus 45 SCVs, as we are now taking a look at a 3-base Protoss versus a 2-base Terran, meaning the economic advantage that Strelok worked so hard to build on will not be sticking around for far too long. More barracks being added. You can see Strelok now transitioning once more back into very heavy bio play. More tech labs being added. Perhaps we will see Stim, Combat Shield, and Concussive Shell all being researched at the same time. More supply depots need to be built, otherwise we are going to get in a bit of a lockdown situation. We do have 1 Raven in the air, and we'll see what this Raven is trying to do next. Alright. SCVs, supply depots. We are going to see perhaps a little bit of a raid here. This is going to be a Banshee Hellion raid. 2 very strong harassment units now looking to actually deal damage. And is it going to be enough? Yes, 1 probe, 2 probes now taken down. The Hellion getting taken down as well. Always glad to trade a Hellion for 2 probes pretty much. Most Terran players would agree to that. If they can trade that all game, even better. As Marines and Marauders now on the move out. Banshees going after that Hellion. The Hellion, oh, in trouble. There's a quick cloak, though. And is there an Observer nearby? Yes, Observer now bringing up the rear. The Banshees now decloaking, as the Stalkers are going to run into a little bit of an issue. The Marines and the Marauders do not have Stim. And wow, Mana dodges a bullet, as Strelok has 108 supply compared to 93. Many of these Stalkers would have been simply destroyed had there been Stim on all of that bio, and then perhaps a follow-up play would have been even stronger. It would have been, what, 86? Or, yeah, 96 versus 118, a huge supply discrepancy, as Hellions now trying to test the waters again. Here we have it. Marines and Marauders are battling it out. Banshees are taking a bit of damage. Psystorm catching all of those units beautifully, as the Marines and the Marauders now trying to shoot up onto the high ground. Strelok not engaging all that well, and Mana looks like he will be able to clean this up. Stalkers are going to be forced to retreat here. The Marauders and the Marines not going to be able to continue that push. There are no more medevacs, as we see, nope, 2 more medevacs now being added once again. All right, Zealots and Stalkers being added here. Scanner sweep between the 2. Stalkers and Zealots now backing off, as we see the engagement get underway. Marauders and Marines. Zealots now chasing forward. Zealots and Stalkers continuing that push once again. However, Strelok has superior numbers, and with the help of 2 additional medevacs, this push looks to be absolutely deadly. Strelok now cleaning up the third base while establishing up a third base of his own, not yet quite upgraded to an orbital command, as more Marines and Marauders are now meeting on the low ground. Last probe has been taken down. Medevac now looking to do a drop inside the main. Zealots are there. You see 1-1 upgrades now coming in. Is it going to be enough? It looks like it is going to be dropped straight up in the back as the Marauders falling out of the sky need to get picked back up and retreat. Archons, Zealots now battling it up at the ramp again. Marauders and Marines off over here, perhaps looking to snipe down the Nexus whenever possible. There is one medevac with 2 Marauders hiding in the bottom left-hand side as we see more Zealots engaging with charge and pushing back many Marines. Strelok still with a slight supply lead. Is it going to hold on just enough? This is all going to be very problematic as we have Marauders and Marines still here. It looks like it's going to clean up this base without an issue. Try and take down the Nexus. The Marauders and the Marines realize that they cannot stick around for very long as the Zealots now charging their way in, able to deal so much or deal some fleeing damage without actually dishing any out. We are now up to 6 medevacs. That is going to be a very heavy composition. Marauders up to 10 already. Up to 14 already. As we are now taking a look at Marines perhaps trying to do a drop here at the third. Both sides mining essentially minerals only at that third base. Both of them perhaps a little bit more limited resource than anything else. 3-3 upgrades are not yet coming online. As Zealots now making their way over. Here we have it. Ghosts, Marauders, and Marines about to charge up the ramp. There's an 11 supply discrepancy between these. Will these High Templars get EMP Shockwave? Yes, they do, but a poor EMP Shockwave at that. And wow, Strelok absolutely getting torn apart. Now on the run as Mana got some easy shots there. All right, more Marauders and Marines are bringing in. It looks like that poor High Templar will get taken down. Are we going to see some EMP Shockwaves? We need to definitely see that. No EMP Shockwaves. And with this, Mana has now gained the momentum. Strelok missing with that Psi Storm, and with the missing Psi Storm, all of a sudden Mana was able, with the EMP Shockwave, and with that Mana was able to just push in and just force Strelok out. We see Marauders and Marines are trying to drop down here onto the low ground. Is it going to be enough? There are High Templars all in position as the Marauder is now taken down. All right, medevac simply retreating and returning back home. A 5th gas finally be taken alongside a 6 Mana with now a 30 supply lead and advantage. 2-2 upgrades against 1-1 upgrades. No chrono boosting out on... Well, actually, no, it looks like they are being chrono boosted. Yes, they are chrono boosting out all of those upgrades there. Is it going to be enough? We can see Warp Prism now bringing up the rear, perhaps looking to reinforce the rest of these units. As the Observer now making their way over here. 157 over 129. There's a Psi Storm not really hitting anything. Not really hitting anything there much. There is that double snipe once more as Ghost now making another move. That EMP round absolutely wrecking all of the Protoss as we're going to see them now charge back up the ramp. Here we have it. Marauders, Marines, and Ghosts now looking to push back this entire gateway death ball. No Colossi in the group, and that is going to be an issue for Mana. If Mana actually had Colossi, should be able to do a lot more, but there is a very effective AoE tactic in that Psi Storm, and able to pull up with that High Templar just in time as the Zealots are now going to try to engage. Is the High Templar going to get picked up? Yes, he will. So does a Zealot. That Zealot was low on hit points, though. And we are going to be seeing these units now make a move across the field. Mana sitting at 165. More High Templars being added to the group. There is now one 1, 2. I can't. Oh, 1, 2, 3. There you go. As the ghosts are now all revealed. There's EMP shockwaves. And what is happening here? Oh, the warp prism gets sniped down. Beautifully done. As the observer now makes its way over. The warp prism getting taken down. A huge, huge loss. As now we have a drop here as well. Strelok now cleaning up with even more workers. 72 workers killed. Strelok doing a great job just shutting down Mana. As Vikings are now in the air. Vikings aren't going to be able to do much either of anything, as the Marauders and the Marines are now looking to disengage. All right, Marauders and Marines now backing off. SCVs coming over. Is this going to have enough? I wouldn't believe so, as Strelok sitting at 105 versus Mana's 100. And both sides are just losing a lot of units pretty quickly. Zealots, Sentries, and Archons now backing off once more, as we see a new Marine, or sorry, the same Marine here getting dropped off and will get taken down by some Zealots. Medevacs now hiding over here on the top left-hand side of the map. Archons, Zealots, Ghosts now pushing up the middle once more. Is it going to be enough? Strelok sitting at 109. Mana sitting at 109. Strelok sitting at 104. And both sides are still running up on 3 bases. Mana sitting on the, or has the significantly larger gas army, so it's really going to come down to those Psy Storms. If those Psy Storms are able to hit beautifully, then Mana should be able to finish the job here. If not, Strelok will be able to hold once more, and that's going to be very difficult to stop. Now you can see a couple medevacs down over here. Units are trying to run and flee away. Mana just simply engaging the base, ignoring everything else, as High Templars now just... High Templars were able to get in a quick feedback before the High Templar itself does get revealed. More Zealots now looking to come in. Zealots now pushing inside the main base. Strelok with nothing really to show for this group. Psystorm, multiple SCVs destroyed. Zealots and Vikings now pushing in. And I believe Strelok will be giving the GG here in just a second. There you go. Mana takes the victory. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.